Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we're going to be looking at Tom Clancy's The Division, and I think we're probably going to be talking about what so far is going on. And I'll be giving some of my own perspective because just in the last few days, it seems the developers are a little bit more chatty about what's going on. Just the other day, content creator Epic Slayers made a video kind of talking about some of the responses that he got from Yannick regarding the way they've set up the time for the next content after this season is over. So we're looking at Massive actually having put up a randomized date saying that, oh, in about 22 weeks, you're going to get new content. And Yannick saying, hey, we just set up that date just so we could actually, cover the intended release date for the next content that we have. So next content is confirmed. The associate creative director of The Division 2 is saying that we actually have a date in mind that we're trying to conceal from the community. And so thereby you're seeing some randomized, I would say, date range in the game right now, showing that the next content is going to be coming in a while. So this is what we have, and I think this is what we're going to go with. Now, there are a lot of people in the community who've said, they don't necessarily feel like, there's anything worth waiting on because Massive may not drop any content. And, I think that's an extreme position, but I can understand where people are coming from. Massive, in their minds, has probably not given them any reason to pay attention to the game or to hope that anything is coming. And in my opinion, it's not like I trust the developers. I think what I trust more than anything is their need to continue to farm the dollars. And this is a very big motivation. I've said this on my channel a lot, that the drive for a business to earn, any revenue is what's going to continue to keep them creating, or else they're going to have to close up shop. So if they really want to keep their reputation intact for the release of Avatar next year and potentially the next Star Wars game, then this next content piece that has been promised is something that will have to drop. And so right now it appears that that's what Yannick is referring to, and potentially we may see something in light of Heartland. But if you kind of want to piece everything together, we've also been hearing some other aspects of this conversation. Another content creator here in the community, Rogue Gold, mentioned something along the lines of potentially the way that they're trying to drop this content is reminiscent of the way they dropped Warlords of New York, where very close to the release, they went ahead and just, dumped the content and then just told us about it just like, a few days, or I think 30 days or so before the content came out. So I think we had like a 1 month, warning and reveal or something along the lines of that. Now, again, what really made that statement or that insinuation stick out to me when I was watching his video about all of this was another community member here on my channel actually had told me that they would prefer that this new content piece be a paid content piece, because in my former video, and I think in my mind that this new content piece should be actually a free content piece, but I'm seeing members of the community, or at least one member of the community, saying that it would make sense if this was a paid content piece. Now, I wondered why they actually mentioned that, but they went ahead to explain and said, if you had a paid content piece, then you have something along the scales of Warlords of New York. You have potentially more content, more missions, and things that players can actually gain more value about. But if it's free, there's the likelihood that we may get Summit type, game mode. And so that's something that I felt was a very interesting way to go. Now, here's the thing. In terms of production, it really matters where Massive was or what kind of progress they made when they were kind of, figuring out what they wanted to bring out for this, particular content piece for year, in quote, 3. I think if they had made a lot of progress before, a lot of setbacks, then they probably picked up the slacks and figured out what it was that they could accomplish before the release window. And if they had to scale back, then that would also affect it. Now, also, I don't think that it is above them or beyond them to bring out a very strong content piece that will still be free nonetheless. I mean, it's not against their business model. What they usually would do in times like this is they could go ahead and do that as kind of I would say an olive branch to the community, saying, hey, we really want you guys to come in and participate in what we have going on in terms of our new game, Division Heartland, or whatever it is. And so they give us something of that nature and actually make it free. But at the end of the day, I see where the comments and concerns are coming from. Everybody would really love for this content, this new content, to be something really big and significant. And that is a very big deal. Now, I said and mentioned in my last videos that, as much as I would like to see the new content, there are things I would like to see, and I would hope that the new content will highlight PvP and PvE. That was one thing that I mentioned, and I thought, that was actually something that was important enough. But there was also something else that I actually did mention that a lot of the community has been discussing lately, and that is a shade level mechanic. And I thought to myself, I didn't necessarily pay much attention to that comment in the sense of, what the shade level mechanic can actually be or look like. Because I know another agent in this community, huge division player, that as of maybe 3-4 months ago, the agent had like 17,000 shade level. This is an agent that actually has a YouTube channel, and there are many more agents that actually have more than that. And so I wonder if there are going to be mechanics that allow for players to enjoy this content piece when they drop it. Also, this game mode that they're actually talking about, I think there might be a few things that need to also be attached to it. So whatever the game mode is, whatever it is that they come up with, whatever it is that they decide, I think they also have to pay attention to some of the promises in terms of content that they actually, or I shouldn't say promises, but some of the statements that they made, or some of the insinuations that were made at the release of Warlords of New York, that we were going to be getting specific aspects of the game being expanded. One of those was the legendary missions for the Division 2. Now, these legendary missions are basically placed in strongholds. And right now in the division, we have, I think, 1 or 2 more strongholds. I know for sure. I think is it Manning National Zoo that's a stronghold, and also Tidal Basin. These are 2 strongholds that do not have a legendary mission. And I think that Massive needs to strongly consider allowing for this particular legendary mission pieces to be added to whatever new content they're bringing to the game. Now, it will seem like, okay, well, the legendary pool is only designed for people who just want to get the, freebie exotic, and potentially those who just want to get a bighorn for decoration purposes. And I get it, and I understand. But one way that they can actually refresh this mechanic is just add another exotic weapon to the grind. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, and make it exclusive to the legendary missions. Now, as much as I'm not a big fan of exclusivity, the legendary missions aren't too difficult to get in, especially with the weekly resets. So that's actually something that's pretty cool. Please note that I am not talking about raids in this video, because I'm not necessarily a huge raid fan. I'm not necessarily a big proponent of its mechanic here in the Division game. There's a casual side to our cooperative mode of the Division that it doesn't necessarily always support the raid mechanic, but there are fun clans and a lot of really cool people who will be willing to take you through raids nonetheless. The LCN clan is one of those clans, and a whole bunch of really cool agents in the community. But at the end of the day, I'm just looking at, say, the real, I would say, simpler aspects to implement compared to like a raid. So having legendary missions and those 2 strongholds I just mentioned earlier are things that I feel like they need to prioritize. So looking at all of this, the timelines, looking at the potential for, maybe a big content piece like Warlords of New York, or maybe not, it still goes without saying that the developers have to look into some of the core aspects of this game to kind of complete the entire cycle. And one of those is, adding legendary missions to those strongholds, and potentially getting a mechanic that would actually allow for your player to continue to power themselves up. And I think, in a very interesting sense, that they have to also highlight potentially, or at least toss around this, I should say, idea of us dealing with the Hunter faction in a much more interesting way. Basically, I think that Hunter player interaction needs to be way more than it already is right now in the Division. Because what we have with the Division 2 is, we have the rogue mechanics and PvE where you get these rogue agents that randomly spawn. Yeah, we have that. But the Hunters were basically just these one-time phenomenon that you went to use to farm masks. I thought that was a weird relegation of these enemy archetypes because they're really interesting. And I would think we would like to see more of them in a better capacity, like we did in Survival and the way we did in Underground. So this is something that I think the devs would probably implement, but I just wanted to go ahead and just say, it shouldn't be something that goes, unsaid at least. And this is something that they must consider as they're putting all of this stuff together. But anyways, this is just my take so far regarding the timeline, regarding some of the news that we're getting, regarding some of the updates. And I would really, really love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I know some people are going to say, I don't play Division anymore. I understand. I get it. We're just having this conversation because, like, we're Division fans, and we would love to continue to play this game, especially now where there aren't many games that really do appeal to a lot of Division players that are coming out. So I guess we just want to continue to see the Division community and universe continue to grow in that direction. Talk to you guys in another video. Thank you so much for listening. Peace out.